You've prayed this prayer before. You know because you remember the first time, the specific words you used, the specific hope underneath them, the specific way you believed in that moment that something was going to shift. And then you prayed it again and again. And here you are, days later, weeks later, maybe years later, praying the same prayer again. And nothing has changed. Not slightly. Not in a direction you're choosing to interpret as progress. The thing is exactly where it was the first time you asked. And you've done everything you were supposed to do with that. You've checked your heart. You've repented of things that might be blocking. You've tried praying with more faith, more specificity, more surrender, more consistency. You've tried praying less to practice detachment. You've tried praying more to demonstrate persistence. And the prayer is the same. And the situation is the same. And something in you is starting to wonder. Not whether God is real. Something more specific. Whether this prayer, this particular repeated prayer, is working. Or whether the repetition itself has become the evidence that it isn't. And the exhaustion isn't just in the praying. It's in not knowing whether to keep going or stop. Whether continuing is faith, or the definition of doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So you just pray it again. Here's what repetition fatigue does that silence doesn't. Silence is hard, but silence is interpretable. You can tell yourself that the quiet means something: preparation, timing, mystery, the ways of God that exceed understanding. Silence gives you room to make meaning. Repetition doesn't, because repetition has a feedback loop. Every time you pray the prayer, you wait to see what happens. And when nothing happens, the prayer becomes the data point. And enough data points become a conclusion. And the conclusion is one you're trying not to draw. That the prayer isn't working. Not because God doesn't work. Because this prayer for this thing, for you in this situation, isn't working. And you've been praying it anyway. Because stopping feels worse than continuing. Because stopping feels like you're saying out loud what the data is saying quietly. That this particular prayer is not going to be answered. And saying that would change something in you that you're not ready to have changed. So you keep going. The same words, roughly. The same hope, thinner than it was. The same waiting afterward. And the gap between the prayer you're praying and the faith you're praying it with gets wider every time. Until the prayer is still happening, but the belief underneath it has gotten very, very quiet. And you're not sure what you're even doing when you pray it anymore. But you're still praying it. Because you don't know what else to do. Here's something that doesn't get said clearly enough about persistent prayer. Jesus told a story specifically about it. The widow who kept coming to the unjust judge. Day after day. The same request. The same judge. The same refusal. And she kept coming. Not because something was changing. Because she hadn't given up. And eventually the judge, not a good man, not a God figure, explicitly described as someone who neither feared God nor cared about people, gave her what she asked for, just to stop the persistence. And Jesus told that story specifically to say, pray and don't give up. Not, pray until you get the answer and then stop. Not, pray with increasing confidence as the answer approaches. Pray and don't give up, as though giving up is the thing that most naturally happens. As though the temptation to stop, the specific exhaustion of repeating the same request into what feels like the same silence, is the expected experience, not the exception. The repetition is not evidence that it isn't working. The repetition is the practice. And the practice has a purpose that isn't always visible in the immediate result. What if the prayer isn't being repeated because it isn't working? What if it's being repeated because something in the repeating itself is necessary? Not as a way to earn the answer, as the specific form that this particular season of trust requires. Because praying the same prayer over and over builds something specific. A faith that doesn't depend on immediate feedback. A trust that continues without confirmation. A persistence that only forms when the result keeps not arriving. It only forms in the repetition, in the returning, in the coming back to the same place with the same request and the same hope, thinned by time but still present. And the person who prays the same prayer for years, who brings it back even when bringing it back costs something, has been built into something specific, something that the quick answer version would never have produced. something that the answered in week 1 version would never have produced. A faith that holds without result. A trust that doesn't require confirmation to continue. And that formation, invisible, happening in the repetition, may be what makes you capable of holding the answer when it comes. Think about physical therapy after a serious injury. The exercises are repetitive. The same movements over and over in the same sequence, producing the same minor discomfort. And progress is almost invisible from session to session. You don't feel stronger after 1 session. You might not feel stronger after 20. But something is happening at the level of tissue and nerve that doesn't show up in the immediate feeling. Strength is being rebuilt, not in proportion to how the session felt, in proportion to the consistency of showing up. And if you stopped, if the repetition felt pointless enough that you quit before the process completed, you wouldn't fail because the therapy wasn't working. You'd stop the therapy before the work it was doing became visible. Repeated prayer is the physical therapy of faith. The same movements over and over, the same request again and again, producing no immediately visible result, but building something at the level of trust and endurance that doesn't show up in the immediate feeling. And stopping because nothing is visibly changing doesn't mean the prayer wasn't working. It means you stopped the process before the work became visible. Keep going. Not because the answer is definitely coming tomorrow, because the formation that happens in the going matters as much as the answer. And the formation is happening. Every time you pray it again. Hannah prayed for a child year after year. The same prayer, the same pilgrimage, the same temple. And every year the situation was the same. And Peninnah, who had children, provoked her. And Elkanah, who loved her, didn't understand why the love wasn't enough. And Hannah kept praying until the year she prayed so hard the priest thought she was drunk. Until the year the prayer poured out of her completely. Not the organized version, not the faith language version, but the everything I have version. And the text says God remembered her. Not that God finally heard her. He had been hearing her the whole time. He remembered her, as though the act of remembering, of turning specific, particular attention toward this person in this prayer, was itself a moment, an event. And after the remembering, the answer came. And the son that came from those years of prayer became Samuel, who became one of the most significant figures in all of Israel's history. And the years of the same prayer, the same temple, the same tears, were not years of unanswered prayer. They were years of formation. Both Hannah's and the child who would come from her. The same prayer, repeated until it poured out, until something broke open in the asking itself, until the one praying was changed by the praying. And the answer, when it came, landed in a person who had been shaped by the waiting to receive it. You're being shaped by the waiting. And what's being shaped is not incidental. It's essential. So here's what I want to say about the prayer you've been praying. The repetition is not the problem. The repetition is the practice. And the practice is building something in you that the answered prayer, whenever it comes, will land in. Someone with the capacity to hold it, to receive it, to not take it for granted because you know what it costs to wait for it. You're not doing something wrong by praying the same prayer again. You're doing the specific thing that persistence requires. And persistence is not a bug in the system of faith. It's the feature, the one that builds what nothing else builds. And the prayer hasn't changed because the answer hasn't come. The prayer hasn't changed because you haven't given up. And not giving up in a specific, quiet, no one sees it way you've been not giving up is not ordinary. That's the widow coming back to the judge. That's Hannah at the temple. That's the faith that holds without result. And God sees it, not eventually, right now, the same way he saw Hannah. He sees the returning. He sees the praying again. He has been seeing it every single time. And the prayer that feels like it's disappearing into the same silence has never once dissolved. Every repetition has landed. Every return has been received. And the remembering, the specific, particular, personal remembering, is coming. Before you go, type these words in the comments. I haven't given up. I'm still praying. Not as a declaration that the answer is on its way, as a witness to what you've been doing. The same prayer, over and over. Still, in the days when the faith underneath it was strong, and in the days when it was thin, and in all the days in between, that is not weakness. That is the most specific kind of faith there is, and it has never once gone unnoticed.